hey Al, if I sound out of breath, it's because I just got done running 6 miles. And I ran up here because I had an idea for a video that I didn't want to forget. As I mentioned before, short-term memory, a little bit wonky at times. So, sorry if I'm like sweaty and disgusting, but whatever. The reason why I wanted to talk about this in particular is your hospital stay, your family, catheters, and the drugs you're going to be on. I know I talked a little bit about the chemo drugs, but I didn't talk about really any painkillers you might be on. So, the reason why the whole thing of catheters came into my brain was because as I was running along, I got to mile 4, I had to stop. I had to go to the bathroom. I've run long distance pretty much my whole life. Never really had this problem until after my surgery. I used to be able to run like, 10, 11 miles, never had to go to the bathroom. I'm lucky if I can get to about 4 without really feeling like I have to go again. This is probably, well, it's because of a couple things. One, I also forgot to mention this yesterday, steroids really make you go to the bathroom badly. As I said, I'm not on them currently, but I'm sure there's some effect that goes into that. 2, when I went in for my craniotomy so that they can remove the tumor, I wake up and I got a catheter in. For those of you that have never had a catheter, be very thankful for that. If you go in for any sort of surgery, chances are you're going to get a catheter. It's a surprise when you wake up and you're like, oh, that just does not feel right. So just beware that may happen. The other thing, which is always fun to learn about, is they cannot gently remove a catheter from you. What they had to do for me, I'm sitting there, the nurse just looked at me, she goes, you ready? I'm like, yes. She's like, all right. And then proceeds to rip the catheter out like she was starting a chainsaw. Yeah, that was a bit painful to say the least. But the thing is, you don't want that catheter in for too long because it will actually screw up a lot of the internals, shall we say. So, be aware that if you get a catheter, it sucks. It's part of the deal. One of the things I noticed was they want you to pee, obviously, when you're in the hospital. For whatever reason, when I had the catheter in, I just couldn't do it. As soon as they took it out, I looked at my nurse, I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom now. So I got up, I grabbed my Christmas tree, I'm going to the bathroom as quickly as I can. Weirdest thing. Yeah, fun stuff to look forward to. Yeah, once again, stuff they don't tell you about when you're going through cancer. The second thing is your family. Hopefully you have a very good support system. I know I did. The one thing, and I will call this the GTFO moment, because there is going to be a moment when you're in your room, drugged out of your gourd, probably with a catheter in pain for whatever part they cut open on you, and your family is going to get on your nerves. They're just going to be asking you questions, telling you need to eat, all this stuff that you already know. You feel god-awful. And I know I had mine. I was just sitting there. My parents were in there. My wife was in there. My in-laws were in there. And I just looked at my wife and I was like, get everyone out. And she just looked and she was like, okay. And she's like, hey everyone, let's leave Carl alone for a bit. And I just remember I sat back, I was like, oh thank God. Loved everyone in the room. However, there just hits a point when you're like, enough. You just can't take it. So you're probably going to have a GTFO moment. It's okay. You're allowed. If you can do it without screaming, it'd probably be nice. But realize you're going to hit a breaking point eventually, no matter how calm, cool, and collected you are. I'm laid back as anything. And I was just like, if these people don't get out of my room, I'm going to strangle somebody. I'm going to grab a lead and just... It was horrible. But once again, as soon as everyone left, very nice, very calm. I was able to actually go back to sleep. The last thing is the drugs that they're going to give you. For me, they gave me a choice. They're like, okay, you can have morphine. I was like, really? So I was like, give me the morphine. But then they were also like, okay, morphine's great, but you can't be on it for too long. I'm like, of course. We're going to give you an oral painkiller instead. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Eventually I was sitting there going, okay, I like these morphine drips a little bit too much, so I was turning my nurse. I was like, okay, what's the oral drug they're going to give me? Oh, Vicodin. I was like, okay. But at that point, I was like, fine, just give me the Vicodin. Took that. I do know a couple stories where people have had like the morphine drips. I mean, I had pretty major surgery. Some people have even more major surgery, like getting parts of the lungs removed, that sort of stuff, cutting you open. Like, I know my dad had prostate cancer. He's fine. It's been clear for years and years. But he went for the full-on, just take the whole thing out route. So I know he was drugged out of his gourd when he was on that. But for me, you know, craniotomy wasn't pretty, hurt a lot. But if you can, try not to go with the morphine, if at all possible. If you're in extreme pain, go with the morphine. But if you can get off of that and get onto like a different pain med that's, now granted, Vicodin, still very addictive, but just be aware of that. Alright, that's about it for the random blurb after I go running. So, see you later on.